How's it going? I was just getting a more appropriate virtual background for the. Well, in this picture, I'm actually at the boiling river. You guys can barely see a little bit of the paper, but not that much. This is one of like the not too hot areas.
My name is Aaron, and I like to read.
Perfect.
Okay, everyone, thank you.
My name is Daniel, and
I don't know. And Daniel doesn't know. Okay.
my name is Chase, and I like playing with my family.
Did you hear that?
Yeah.
Okay, next.
My name is Eve, and I like to draw.
Oh, I love to draw too.
I never actually sent you my bio because I never finished it. But my name's Noah, and I can do a current voice. At least something.
Kermit the Frog voice.
Kermit the Frog. I can do something.
Okay, Rosa, this team of researchers right now are asking questions about the formation of the river.
Oh, interesting.
Are there any other theories are there any more than 3 theories?
Are there any other what, sorry?
More than the three theories about how the river is so hot.
To be honest, well, there is the local mystical theory that actually the original name of the river in the native language of the communities living there, it's Shanai Timpishka, which to their native language roughly translates to heated, boil with the heat of the sun, because that's how they interpret all the nature around it. So that's the mystical cosmovision, like derived meaning theory as to how the river, gets to be there, that is boiled by the heat of the sun. But when we get into the scientific aspect of it, the first thought, there were two actually. First, that there must be a volcano nearby. That was the first explorers that arrived to the area where there was really no map of the country yet. But over time, they learned that that's not the case. The nearest volcano is over 400 miles away. So that's not from volcanic origin. So that discards theory number one. The second theory was that there was some petroleum reserves under the earth nearby, and that perhaps that was heating up the area. And that is partially true because one of the first oil mine areas in Peru actually happened to be very close to the boiling river, but they did a really good job at not damaging and contaminating the rest of the area. And with some of the studies that Andres has done, they have noticed that these oil seeps do not really get too close to the boiling river. So also discarding that theory number two. So now we are left with theory number three, which is the one that is holding up a little bit more right now with the science data we have, which is that the Amazon River originated really only a couple of 100 years ago. Before it was just, a green area, and it started from the Andes as a cold stream, and then it goes really fast, travels from the south of the country all the way up north. But then if you think about rivers, it's good to think about the blood in the veins in our bodies. So we have so many veins that travel throughout different parts of our bodies. So similarly on Earth, the rivers have also, although we may just see, a nice stream of water floating on top of the earth, they may have some cracks that allow the water to go all the way really close to the core of the earth, and then it can come back up and gets heated up from there. So that's the theory that holds the strongest right now for how the boiling river gets to be so hot.
Is there a scientific word for those cracks?
Yeah, it's called fissures. Let me write it down. Yeah.
That's exactly what I was guessing.
Fissures.
Yeah, that's exactly what it's called. And the way it comes back up, it's not like a big amount of water that is really rushing through. Sometimes it's little injections of water. So if you think about, this is the earth, and we think about the core being really far away from us right now. So maybe there's a lot of water coming close from the core of the earth, but then as we approach, the different rock formations that make up the different layers of the earth. That becomes thinner and thinner, and then what ends up happening in the boiling river is we have injections of hot water. I will try to find some videos of these where basically throughout the river there's different small springs that are spewing hot water the whole time. They're bubbling, and that's the case throughout the entire river.
Noah, did you have a question?
Is there a way to use the heat from the river for converting it into power or electric power? Oh, to convert it to energy?
That's a fascinating question, and they have definitely been companies that have inquired about that, because of course it's a lot of heat in the energy in the form of heat that is constantly going there. There's two things why that hasn't happened yet. Number one is that although the river is boiling for most of the year, sometimes whenever it gets to be the wet season in the jungle. So in the jungle, we don't have, the four seasons like we get here, the fall, winter, spring, summer. You really there only have dry. So it's either only hot or it's hot plus it's raining. So whenever it's the wet season, sometimes it rains so much and the rain is very cold water that it cools down the river. And because of that, a plant wouldn't be able to sustain its work the entire time. That's number one. And number two, this type of plants can be very destructive to the environment. And because the boiling river it's big compared to other thermal rivers, but it's not such a large entity, the only space to build that plant would be to displace the community that lives there. So it would be very disruptive of the ecology.
Yeah. Do you understand that? How it would disrupt the town? They would have to take the town away, make a plant there, and the whole town would be. Yeah, I'll write some of those ideas over here too. Okay, well, Eve, do you have something you'd like to ask Rosa?
How did the fissures form?
How do fissures form?
How do fissures form? So the earth is constantly in movement, and sometimes, I don't know if have you guys experienced any earthquakes there?
My mom experienced it.
Yeah.
She told me about it, but I didn't.
So in Peru, actually, it's it's a country in South America that it's known for being built on top of it's called tectonic plates of the earth that are slowly, constantly moving. And sometimes these movements happen to be very abrupt, very harsh, very sudden, and that can cause an earthquake. Throughout these earthquakes, because it's, imagine like big pieces, like plates of rock below the surface of the earth that are moving slowly but constantly. And if they crash, then like anything can crack a little. And these cracks can become bigger over time, and that's how fissures can be formed. That's one of the ways in which that can happen.
So the village by May and Tuyaku?
Yeah.
The name comes from Mayantu, which means spirits of the jungle, and Yaku, which means spirits of the water, or something like that. That's what I found out.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Actually, there's a part of the river that is called Yaku Mama. Yaku coming from the water and Mama coming from mother. So from water and mother. In this section of the river, there's a huge rock that looks like the head of a snake. But it's insane. When you look at it, you're like, what is that? It's really interesting because that point, so there's that natural rock that looks like has the shape of the head of a serpent, and because of that, that's one reason why this place has a special name. Two, with Andres' studies, they discovered that that is one of the points where the cold water meets the hot water in the boiling river. So it makes it quite interesting. And there's some hot springs, injections of hot water in this area as well. So because the people there see nature, as I said, through spirits, because of the form of this rock, they assign that rock as the protector of that area of the river. And so they call it the Yakumama, the mother of the water in that section, as being the spirit from this serpent. Wonderful. And actually there's a few bats that live in that rock formation. There's a few holes, and if you tap it hard enough, there's a lot of bats that like to live there, so they'll just fly out.
too.
Yeah.
So you said the snake, like the snakehead rock, the people of the village made it it's the river's guardian or something?
Yeah, basically the rock was there naturally present, but because they associate all forms of animals and plants as big spirits, and because this had a very specific shape of, that looked like an animal, then they said, okay, this is the spirit that is protecting this part of the river, so they're gonna call it the mother of this part of the river. So Yaku, the mother of the water in that section of the river.
Could you spell that for us? Do you know how to spell Yakuma?
It's Y-A-C-U, Yaku, Y-A-C-U, Mama, M-A-M-A.
The current shaman of Mayantuyaku is Juan Flores.
Yes.
And he apparently learned from Andean shamans in the mountains.
Yes.
And are the Andean shamans dead?
So as of right now, there are very, very, very few, but there must be still a couple that are remaining. And the way they usually train a lot of people during their lifetime. So even if they do all end up passing away, their knowledge is somehow still orally being transmitted. Still, not many have transmitted their knowledge in a written form, like in books. Some are starting to do that. But the Maestro Juan Flores, if you look at the map of Peru, you will notice, one side you have the very, very thin section of the country, and then the Andes and the jungle they seem quite separate and distinct, but at some points they do intertwine. So for example, Cusco, where Machu Picchu is located, one of the seven wonders of the world, it technically is both a little bit Andes and also a little bit of jungle. So some sections it's impossible to say this is 100% just Andes and this is 100% just jungle. And the same way as these geographical locations kind of intertwine, the same happen with the communities. So although they say, oh, it is Andes shaman, most likely they grew up in all around this area. So it's kind of hard to define it one way or the other. I would say it was more appropriate to refer to them as shamans just in general without necessarily defining the area.
Hey guys, it's time to say goodbye. Say see you again. Bye.
Keep thinking about cool things.